Okay, let's try that again. God, nothing can go easily today. I accidentally was streaming that to my other channel. Well, anyway, we're gonna do some Geoguessr. Okay, continue playing World. Let's see where we are. This is nice image quality. Okay, I think this... Something... It's hard to read that, but it seems like possibly... Goit! Bloody hell, I was just hearing about Goit. But this does not look like Lincolnshire. There are hills. But yeah, we're in Britain. We are someplace in Britain. Let's see. This is like the best Geoguessr images I think I've ever gotten. Yeah, definitely Britain. It's in miles and all. Very hilly, quite pretty. What have we got here? Whitehall. Outdoor Education Center, Derbyshire. We're in Derbyshire, okay. That simplifies things a bit. Let's see, Derby. Yeah, are there any AONBs in Derbyshire? Goit Valley could be in. Oakbrook, Brayston, Aston-on-Trent. Not seeing one immediately. But okay. We know the county anyway. Let's see where we're going. Oh, this is really good image quality. That is a rarity. Yeah, okay. It's gonna be a distant sign at some point, or maybe a sign at least saying what A road this is. This doesn't feel like a B road. Which is good, because B roads often require heavy zoomage to find, whereas A roads tend to be a little bit easier to locate. Come on. clear that off. Okay. Fuck knows where the Goit Valley is. Other than that, it's someplace in Derbyshire. Car park coming up. Maybe there will be signs that give us a little bit more indication. Okay, where the hell are we? Other than in Derbyshire someplace, which that much we've worked out. Okay, good. That's the most useless sign I've seen today. Fernley. Never heard of it. Twyford. Okay. No sign of a river. Hubley, Darlymore. Heritage Wood, Yeldersley. Muggington Lane End. Lot going on in that name. Here we. Let's see. Got a church. No footway. Quarter of a mile. Hoping. Stonygate private road. That's not helpful. I might improve the lighting situation. Another one of these wonderful blank signs this month. What a fucking day I've had. Shady Oak. Jennings. Never heard of Jennings. Wonder if it's good ale. They've also got Guinness. Tops. Ooh. And that was Fernley. Still no indication of what road this is. Shady Oak. Oh god, where are we? I mean, it's quite attractive. It's very nice. But maddeningly short on signposting. Hot and cold, food. International Road Ferry. Interesting. Whaley Bridge. Big enough to be twinned with somebody. Royal Mail. This is feeling like it might. In the High Peak. Shipley. Priestley. Woodlincoln. Belper Lane. Could this be? Maybe it's in the Peak District. I'm not sure exactly whether the Peak District... I mean, that's probably its own local authority area, but I don't know if it might be in the traditional county. Derbyshire. That's counties are very complicated in Britain. There are different ways of deciding where places actually are. Beeley, Bakewell, Pilsley, Hassop, Rowland. I mean, it's pretty enough to be the Peak District. Kirkby and Ashfield, Nottingham, Toxeter, Whaley Bridge. Lythe Bridge. Fuck knows. In the High Peak, whichever peak that is. Give me a name of a number of a road or something. Liberty Cows. MOT site. Stockport. Okay, it's by the A6, B5470 to Macclesfield and Chaplin the Frith. Okay, A5004, A6, B5470. Okay. Let's see, where's... Remind myself what bloody Macclesfield is. Yeah, there's the A60. The A6 is going to be nearby. British roads make sense in terms of their numbers. A1. A6. Bakewell. Buxton. Ashford in the water. You should get Ashford out of the water. B5056. B5470 is what we're looking for, and A5004. Let's see where A6 leaves us. Fernley! There we go. It was in the Peak District. A5004. There we go. Let me just drop the Discord link in here. I see people are starting to join. How's everybody doing tonight? 49.89. Not a bad start. Okay. I think we're in Japan. Yeah, this almost certainly Japan.どこかにいるけど、一体どこなんだろう。なんか、田舎みたいだけどね。住友会場. Okay, yeah, definitely Japan. Takaoka-shi Nogyo. Okay, we're in Takaoka, and there's an agricultural co-op, which tells us we are very much in the sticks. Another MOT garage. Takaoka. どこなんだ初見だからな富山県 Okay 富山高岡あったぞ7.8 kilometers off, 49.74. And now we're in the US. Yellowstone Sports Medicine. Well, that narrows it down pretty quickly. Park County. Sierra Trading Post. Okay. Bolter Bay. Yankee Car Wash. Give me something here. I've never heard of a Maverick garage in my life. Oh, hang on, what was that? Daryl Stewart for sheriff. Well, I guess we're clearly near Yellowstone. Start there. .307 area code. Oh, Wyoming. Okay, we're in Wyoming. Park County, Wyoming. Sublet County. Okay. That's gotta be Park County, hasn't it? Oh shit, nowhere near it. Oh, I can see how. That is still near another edge of what Yellowstone. 4421 anyway. And looks like we're in either Denmark or Norway. Guntveien. Okay, that seems kind of Norwegian. Okay. Got a city bus here. Nothing visible written on it, annoyingly. Guntveien. Rema 1000. Okay, come on. Something more than Per Guntveien. Sone. Okay, feeling more and more like Norway. Molybdenum. Molybdenum way. Guessing there must be some mining around here then. Lund. Where's Lund again? Ornäs, Kongsfinger, Jaren. Okay, another mining-related name. Manganveien. Manganese Way. Molybden. Mangan. There is mining going on in this place. Wait, are we circling around? Am I going in a circle here? I may very well have just gone in a circle. $198 kilometers. Ah, Kristiansand. 4380, still not bad. And this feels fairly North American. Pasadena Museum of History. California Institute of Technology, Huntington Library, Historic Route 66. El Mercadito. Okay. We're by 210 and 134. There's 210. And we're apparently heading towards LA. And 210 and 134. Okay. More or less there. .9 kilometers. 4987. Not bad. For a total of 23,751. Hey there, Adam. How you doing? I've had a hell of a day myself. some interesting bullshit to look at. And part of, you know, one thing my brain has been suggesting is to do the Always Be closing speech from Glengarry Glen Ross in the voice of Caleb Maupin. Because you know, folks, there's the one thing that matters in this life is to get the signature on the line that is dotted. Do you hear me, you CIA-funded Trotskyists? Oh God, sorry to, maybe not sorry to hear that. Maybe that was actually a good thing. Sounds like my day, though. I basically, like, shot my entire energy budget for the day in 15 minutes. Because, okay, I've had a pretty shitty few months, work-wise. I just haven't had much going on there. And so I actually had a bunch this week. And I worked double time just to get it all done so I could bill it by, first thing this morning in hopes that I was going to get paid no later than Monday. And I, surprisingly, got paid today. Which was cool, and I wanted to get some of that over to one of my other accounts, to my savings, so that that would look a little bit better. And so I go to PayPal, and I don't know if you've ever tried to transfer to a linked bank account from a PayPal account, but the thing is that it defaults to transferring the entire balance. And there's no confirmation screen or anything. So when I was trying to transfer about half of what I got, instead, I transferred the lot, and there was nothing I could do about it. Now I may actually have to wait until, like, Monday. Like, I was gonna be okay, and and instead, I managed to just send the money out into the ether, and it's just gonna spend a weekend in limbo. And so I just absolutely freaked out when I saw that. And I've just been exhausted since then. I had a pretty good stream on hyperpolyglotting, but still exhausted. So I'm going to be occasionally checking my emails just to see if there's any sign of it just having gone through a little bit earlier than expected. Oh, absolutely devastating, because this was like, not only was this, because the thing is, because it defaults to transferring your entire balance, that meant it wasn't just the money that just came in, it was everything that was in the fucking account. Everything. So the money that I was kind of gonna try to make it through the weekend on, that went with it too, so now there's just nothing in that account, and there's nothing in the other one, until this transfer goes through, and yeah. Yeah, fun day. Fun day. Okay, speaking of aggravating, hang on, wait a second. Sure, I had actually added this. Undo. That's not where I wanted it to go. Save to playlist. Oh, wait, it should be in there. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I wouldn't mind one either. I still have, like, half of a jar of this, brilliant apple pie flavored moonshine my sister made. Here we go. And I'm basically the only person in the house who will drink it. And it sounds really good right about now. Especially I've got like a brownie sort of waiting. And in the meantime, let's see what we've got in reaction fodder. We've got Vosh talking about how he doesn't know anything about the situation with Fash in Germany. And since I imagine most English-speaking people are more or less as knowledgeable on the subject as Vosh is, that might be an interesting one, because talk about the degree to which the Fash are completely networked into the cops and the army and the fucking intelligence services there. Vosh not knowing anything about Germany or apple pie flavored moonshine? Then we've got Has asking, "Are you a bigot?" And that'll be interesting. Yeah, we've also got Has debating with a former fan about whether baristas are a working class. Xanderhole following up his attempt to sort of put some distance between himself and far right anti-LGBT propagandist as Shuan had. Apparently, she responded to his pathetic Piss Week video, and now he's responding to her pathetic Piss Week response. And then there's just Xanderhole on abuse and toxicity in the left, is something that he has provided a great deal of over the years. You know, one thing I am kind of hoping to do in this, when I get paid and possibly, maybe I'll get some, maybe as gifts or something, is get this lighting situation improved, because you have some YouTubers. I assume, okay, does the Vosh video have anything, the far-right monarchists? They're not monarchists exactly. What they are is the German version of the sovereign citizens. They're called the Reichsbürger. And it's basically all sovereign citizen woo, except that since they're adapting it to Germany, what they claim is that the Federal Republic is actually just a company, and that legally, actually, the Kaiserreich, the Second Empire, is still in power. And I mean, other than that, it is identical. Their propaganda, their arguments, all that shit, totally identical to the sovereign citizens or the freemen on the land. It's the exact same shit. They just it's a different name. Like, a lot of YouTubers and Twitch creators have bisexual lighting. I, on the other hand, I have Xander Hall Vosh lighting. I have Debate Bro lighting. It's just one big white LED. And it's constantly threatening to give me an ocular migraine aura. And not only that, it's not all that great for the green screen situation, so hoping I might get to improve that sometime this month. Okay, well, these are relatively short ones. We might conceivably be able to do more than one. Well, the Xanderhole one there is 2 hours. And Jesus, the debate with the ex-fan of show by Has, that is 4 hours. How the hell does he not get killed by the algorithm? Because there's no way any significant number of people are sitting through 4 hours, 51 minutes, and 43 seconds of Has just, like, being angry at women. And, like, sort of just looking like he's about to put his fist through the wall or something. Normally, the algorithm actually will penalize you for, putting your streams up like that, just unedited, because one of the metrics that is used to decide how much visibility you get is what percentage of the video people stick around for, and there's just no fucking way people are sitting through 5 whole hours of him disjointedly ranting about things. And the abuse and toxicity on the left is an entire hour. And then there's 15 minutes of Caleb Maupin on This Is What He Believes. So, maybe, I think we start out with Caleb. We haven't done Caleb Maupin in a bit. I think we start out with Caleb Maupin, and then move into Vosh getting Germany and the Fash wrong. Okay, let me get my crop right. Okay, and audio is roughly where it needs to be. Maybe bump that up a little bit. And here we go.
As someone who calls myself a communist,
I love how that's always he always puts some distance between himself and the word.
as someone who calls myself a 21st century socialist,
I gotta say, always be closing. Coffee is for closers, folks. Coffee is only for closers. Put that coffee down. Put that coffee down, you Jackson Pollock loving CIA funded Trotskyists.
as someone who sees themselves as continuing the great tradition.
Christ, I mean, I have to say, it's interesting that this is when he's finally decided to go and get production values. But once, I mean, it's just really remarkable how he makes everything about him. And what's with these...
Karl Marx, Frederick Engels,
Friedrich, verdammt nochmal.
Vladimir Lenin, Mao Zedong, Kim Il-sung, Fidel Castro.
How are you going to be continuing all of their traditions? They didn't actually agree on a whole... There's a whole lot of stuff they disagreed on.
Great tradition of Hugo Chavez. Great tradition of socialism in its many forms that we've seen. Great tradition of Daniel Ortega.
Well, that's not exactly the greatest tradition. I mean, his greatest fucking leftist moments are 30 years in the past. To get into office this time, he made all sorts of deals with reactionaries, the landowners, and the fucking Catholic Church, which is why it's actually, actually, it's kind of the sort of deals that Caleb Maupin would make. Yeah, he's totally in the tradition of Daniel Ortega. Yeah, he's just throwing everything out there. Yeah, although, I mean, he's kind of giving the game away when he says he wants to be in the tradition of Kim Il-sung, because he clearly really does want a fucking personality cult around him. Even after he got ejected from the CPI for being a fucking sex pest and trying to turn it into a sex cult and exploiting all the fucking people. I mean, even after that, see, he announced they were relaunching CPI in a completely registered in a different state because he owns the registration of CPI in New York. And he reassured everyone he's not going to have any control over the finances or the day-to-day running, but he is written into the bylaws as the ideological leader.
Nicolas Maduro, the great tradition of Kim Jong-un, the great tradition of...
Can you have a great tradition when you've only actually been in power for 10 years? Is he just going to list everybody's tradition that... Yeah, the great tradition of Enver Hoxha, the great tradition of Earl Browder, the great tradition of Bob Avakian,
Mao Zedong.
You already said that. You already said Mao Zedong.
Deng Xiaoping.
Again, you can't really do both of those.
Xi Jinping.
You could have adjusted it so you're not cutting his fucking skull cap off.
The tradition of Che Guevara.
The tradition of, like, maybe pronouncing his fucking name correctly.
The tradition of Ho Chi Minh. The tradition that has existed here on these shores. From Nat Turner to John Brown to Harriet Tubman.
Wait, okay. First of all, he's trying to create an ideological continuity between a whole lot of people. I mean, okay, it's hard enough to say that you are in the tradition of Hugo Chavez, Kim Il Sung, fucking Mao Zedong, and Xi Jinping, and then also Daniel Ortega. But then, I mean, he's just kind of appropriating John Brown, Nat Turner, and Harriet Tubman as well.
To Thaddeus Stevens, to the abolitionists who fought against slavery, to the suffragists.
Yeah, he decide that's the one he decides to remind people what it is.
Who fought for the rights of women to vote.
Well, of white women.
To those who built the labor movement, the Wobblies.
Wait, okay. He thinks he's in the tradition of the fucking Wobblies? As an actual Wobbly myself, I have to say, his approach to organization is kind of different to the traditional Wobbly approach to organizing, in that it's not based on a fucking cult of personality by the most boring human who also decides to use it in order to fucking get his rocks off.
The IWW, Eugene.
Wait, the Wobblies and the IWW?
Debs. Mother Bloor. Elizabeth.
It's Mother Joan.
Gurley Flynn. Claudia Jones.
Okay, is he just gonna keep listing people? Is that what this is? It's just like the fucking, the Marxist phone book?
Those who built the once beautiful and amazing Communist Party of the United States.
The once beautiful and amazing Communist Party, like...
William C. Foster. Gus Hall.
What's with this lighting? He's making everybody look very sinister.
Moisha Olgan. Henry Winston. William L. Patterson. To the tradition of the Black Panthers. Huey Newton.
He's just listing people. This is what he believes is that he wants to be thought of as being on the same level as Eugene Debs, who... It's like Eugene Debs, we'll leave aside the ideological thing. The thing about Eugene V. Debs is that he could give a fucking speech. He was pretty good at giving a speech. He did not need to actually have his, the Socialist Party get together and rehearse when they were supposed to applaud and when they were supposed to laugh during his speeches, because he was good at giving a fucking speech. Caleb Maupin does not have this talent.
Angela Davis. Bobby Seale. To those who organized all throughout U.S. history, fighting for...
What's with this fucking lighting? Why is everybody, like, hiding in the shadows except
the
him?
rights of the downtrodden, fighting for the oppressed.
He's not even going to say who this is.
Against the unjust wars. Fighting for food for hungry children. As someone who sees myself coming from this great...
Yeah, I don't think he really needs to talk about how he sees himself coming. We've all fucking seen him coming.
Tradition of struggle. Someone who looks back at giants in the past. There are certain things that I do believe. There are certain things that
There are certain things that he does. That's true. There are certain things that he does.
Profess. There are certain truths that I espouse.
There are certain rhetorical techniques that I almost am okay at.
beliefs more or less go like this. I do believe that there is something unique about the human species. That while animals simply interact with their environment, as Frederick Engels taught us, human beings make the environment to serve them.
Okay.
Humans are endowed with certain intelligence, certain ability, certain creative power. As the tool-making species, we have the ability.
Not the only tool-making species anymore. We've got various known examples of other species using tools, including, I believe, crows.
To do things that other species cannot do, and to constantly reinvent our relationship with nature.
What's with this fucking plinky-ass piano music, too? This is, like, what did he record this on hold? I believe, folks, what I believe, I profess that your call is very important to us, folks. It's very important, so you just stay on the line, and it will be answered in the order it was received.
In order to reach a higher plane of existence. But ants have been making their ant farms the same way for millions of years.
No, they're not making ant farms. They're not making the little glass things that you buy at the little fucking novelty shop. They're making ant hills and tunnels and things. They're not making... Ants aren't making ant farms.
And beavers have been building their beaver dams the same way for millions of years. But in just 8,000 years, human beings have gone from hunter-gatherers in the woods to space travel, and iPhones, 3D printers, and artificial intelligence, and that there is something unique about humankind. That we have the ability to reinvent ourselves.
What's great about this, I mean, he's like nearly 5 minutes into this, and he has not said anything that actually commits him to an actual ideological position. He's just going to talk about, like, humans, we make stuff, and we also create things, and we adapt to our environment.
As a species, we have the ability to constantly perfect our state of existence, to do greater than we have done before.
And does anyone recognize this footage? Like, who are we looking at? Who are these white people?
To expand our life expectancy, to expand our population, to expand...
Oh, I know what this is. This is the International Games of, the International Festival of Youth and Students in Moscow. That's what this has to be.
Our comfort...
Archival footage.
To connect to higher powers, to understand the objective laws of the universe and history.
What the fuck is with this?
That human beings are not simply rats.
We're not simply rats. We're not rodents. We don't have the long front teeth, folks. We don't have them. We're primates.
Or a science experiment capable only of fleeing from pain and seeking pleasure. But human beings...
Well, maybe that's what they do in the science experiments, because that's all we're ever doing to them in the fucking science experiments.
Capable of comprehending...
It's like when we're giving them cancer.
The big picture, of asking the big questions, of thinking in a scientific and calculated way, and of moving toward a higher plane of understanding.
Dude, dial back the contrast. Maybe up the brightness a bit.
A higher mode of...
Like, the one person in that fucking footage that you want to show is Lenin, and he's the one person who it's almost impossible to recognize because he's totally shadowed out.
A higher mode of existence. That there is something unique about humanity. There is something unique about humanity.
I'm guessing he thinks there's something unique about humanity.
And that it is this creative drive that propelled human beings from hunter-gatherer civilization.
We've been through this. You've already talked about this. We're 5 minutes into a 15-minute video, and you're just the first like 3 minutes of it was just listing out everyone you could think of who has a reputation of being some kind of revolutionary. And now he's just kind of repeating we're different to animals over and over again.
To slavery and feudalism, to modern day capitalism, and that starting in 1917, countries that were kept chronically poor and underdeveloped by capitalism in its last monopoly stage of imperialism began to break their chains. And though they were poor, in breaking their chains and breaking out of the domination of Western capitalism and imperialism, they began to lay the foundations of a higher plane of existence, socialism.
Well, first they had to redefine socialism because Lenin thought that the working class probably shouldn't have as much of a leading role in it as it was traditionally thought.
Society where the banks and the factories.
See, humans, we have the infinite creative capacity for revisionism, folks.
And the major industries and the centers of economic power do not simply function as private entities operating for the profits of those who own them, but rather they function for the good of society, and that the chaos of the market, the anarchy of production can be overcome. And that with the application of human reason and science and morality to the control of the means of production, to the control of the commanding heights of economic power.
What's interesting, commanding heights is a term that actually comes, if I remember correctly, this is one of the various versions of Clause 4 of the Labor Party bylaws. They had, the original version was that the state should control all of the industries, and then between Gateskill and Harold Wilson and various of the sort of more centrist, more Fabian-tending leaders, they sort of moved it to the commanding heights, and now it's just like, it's fuck all.
Human creativity and human brilliance can soar to an even higher plane. And that this understanding that was first put forward by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels was validated by the Russian Revolution. And it was further validated when the Soviet Union went from being one of the poorest countries in the world to becoming a superpower.
And that doesn't actually validate any of that, because the thing is, that's just raising living standards in capitalism. That does not actually address, that's not the same thing as changing who controls the means of production. Changing how the means of production are operated. Yes, Marxism-Leninism does a pretty good job of raising the living standards within capitalism. It's actually quite effective at that. That's not what fucking Marx was talking about.
And defeating the Nazis, and inventing space travel, and electrifying the entire country, and wiping out illiteracy, and building the biggest steel mills and the biggest power plants in the world. And while the
I don't know if you'd mention that, because there was that one in Chernobyl.
The rest of the planet was having a Great Depression, the whole world looked on at what the Soviet Union was achieving, and that was validation. That a higher plane...
That wasn't actually a great moment for the Soviet Union, though, either.
Beyond capitalism can be achieved, and that the countries that have been kept in chronic poverty by breaking their chains and
God, could you get some different fucking music?
Adopting the socialist mode of production have lifted themselves up. China today.
There's nothing that looks sillier than people dancing to music you can't hear. Except possibly people dancing to music that is not the same as the music you're hearing, because somebody decided to put Muzak over the footage.
Stands as one of the greatest examples of this. The former sick man of Asia, now a towering center of the global economy.
Yes, the global capitalist economy.
800 million people lifted out of poverty.
Again, raising living standards in capitalism isn't the same thing. It's not. It's not communism just because the government does it, folks. I think even fucking. I know for a fact that Caleb Maupin has said that himself, and yet here he is, of course, because he's not into consistency.
The achievements of socialism were seen on the African continent with Julius Nyerere
We should do something about the fucking lighting.
and African socialism in Tanzania, with Kwame Nkrumah and African socialism in Ghana, with the Islamic Socialist government of Libya that provided the highest life expectancy on the African continent, that built the world's...
That also, towards the end, was actually inviting the U.S. Department of Commerce to help them reform the banking system to neoliberal specifications. And, Gaddafi, one of his closest associates in the last few years was Tony Blair. That doesn't change the fact that what NATO did in Libya has just turned it into an absolute fucking nightmare. But, I mean, he's having difficulty coming up with an example that he can talk about at length that does not involve actually just kind of eventually giving into imperialism.
Hydroelectric power plant that provided jobs to millions of Africans who came to Libya from all over the continent to enjoy the fruits of the socialized oil production apparatus. The achievements of socialism have been proved in Cuba, where a population that faces a horrendous blockade still has a higher life expectancy than the people of Haiti, and the people of Jamaica, and the people of the surrounding Caribbean nations.
I mean, that's not... See, the thing is that is really damning with faint praise. Because, I mean, having a higher life expectancy than Haiti is not hard. What is really remarkable, if you were going to point out how Cuba has triumphed, and they really have, what you could look at is, say, the fact that despite this massive blockade that specifically targets food and medicine, basic humanitarian goods, when you look at the global rankings on healthcare outcomes, on, just the overall quality and efficacy of the healthcare system, Cuba, a country at serious disadvantages on multiple levels, and quite apart from the fucking blockade, is 3 places behind the U.S., which not only points out just what an absolute disaster healthcare in the U.S. is, but also just what a fucking amazing job that Cuba's doing. And they are. I mean, absolutely no notes there.
Healthcare system.
Also, I mean, from the available research, it seems that their Soberana COVID vaccines are also probably better, at least on Omicron, than the ones that we're getting here.
That is admired all over the world. A literacy volunteer program that brings literacy to people all across the planet.
Like, all he's doing here is, like, associating himself with people who actually who are much more respected than him, specifically because they've actually done worthwhile things, which he has not. I mean, fucking take it down a notch, Caleb. You haven't just introduced the Cuban literacy program. You haven't electrified you haven't, like, brought tractors to the fucking steps. You're a boring YouTube figure whose most famous thing is, that he decided to use a shitty little think tank as a way to, sexually exploit naive young leftists.
Fruits of socialism have been shown in Nicaragua, where the Sandinista government, on the slogan of Christianity, socialism, and solidarity, have raised millions of people from poverty, have concocted a micro-entrepreneurship program that has enabled millions.
The thing about that, I mean, again, you can talk about socialism, or you can talk about, like, neoliberal shit like the micro entrepreneurship project.
of people to start their own businesses in coordination with the overall state central plan and raise themselves up and become prosperous. That socialism is the inevitable next stage of human development. That as the productive
Yeah, well, it's been the next stage for China for a while.
forces continue to advance under capitalism, the problem of poverty amid plenty persists. The problem exhibits itself with the fact that self-driving cars would lead to mass unemployment, hunger, desperation in the United States.
Wait, will lead to? I mean, we've already got all those things. I mean, right now the main problem with self-driving cars is that they're actually have this tendency, apparently, whoever programmed their algorithm didn't think to make them recognize that they should also stop for black people. That seems to have been a problem, at least with a lot of these self-driving cars algorithms. There are a lot of things, but I mean, we're already, the hunger, the fucking poverty, the unemployment, we got that stuff already. Why, I mean, I don't even see how self-driving cars specifically would be the reason that stuff would be more likely to happen. Not least because you look at the actual, I mean, what the price point on those things are, it's like $100,000. It is, and then they're getting recalled left and right.
In a rational society, self-driving cars would be nothing but a great achievement, nothing but something to celebrate.
Except they're, I mean, I don't know that, well, leaving aside that they're not a particularly great achievement because they don't fucking work. And Teslas are constantly getting, is he trying to, like, angle for some fucking Elon Musk money? Is that the idea here that he's bringing? I've never heard him go on about self-driving cars before.
A system where people's only value is their ability to sell their labor power to a capitalist. A system where war is profitable, where drugs and drug addiction is profitable.
Oh, okay. Props to whoever came up with that particular piece of footage, because if you wanted to make her look like a grasping fucking spiv, which she is, I mean, not that makes her particularly unusual in the capitalist class or the U.S. political class in general. That what she's doing there, that just
A system where prisons are profitable. A system where debt and the crippling of an economy is profitable for a small class of bankers. This system must be
a small class of bank. I think you're talking about a small class of capitalists who use the services of bankers occasionally, who are also part of the capitalist class. But it's not. I mean, he had to get some fashy shit in here at some point.
overcome. And that we can learn from the failure and the problems of the Soviet Union. We can learn from the problems that China has experienced over the years. That 21st century socialism corrects the errors and the problems of the 20th century to move
It's really interesting. You never really hear somebody defining that.
higher to yet another plane. The 21st century socialism does not reject religion, does not deny the existence of God, does not seek to break away people from their spiritual communities. 21st century socialism is not afraid to utilize the strengths of the market,
Which is already why it's not fucking socialism.
to stabilize and boost an overall socialist plan of production. 21st century socialism is not
That's literally the anarchy of production that fucking Marx and Engels were talking about. He loves to cite that, probably just because he likes to use anarchy in a negative sense. But that's literally the whole... when you're bringing a capitalist class and a whole fucking market system and then putting it within sort of a kind of authoritarian social democratic overall structure, you're actually just bringing capitalism. That's not... I mean, what he's talking about with 21st century socialism, it seems, is actually what the third way Tony Blair was on
not
about.
held back by the ideological dogmatism of the past. 21st century socialism provides the many necessary adjustments. And
Like what?
finally, just as socialism in China was different than socialism in Russia, just as socialism in Cuba was different than socialism in China, just as socialism in Venezuela was different than socialism in Cuba,
Yeah, I mean,
just as socialism in Libya was different than socialism in Nicaragua.
and I mean, the one thing that is true about socialism in all those places is it hasn't actually happened yet.
And that socialism everywhere is unique and carries with it the unique characteristics of the country in which it originated. And that when we have socialism in the United States, it will not be Korean socialism, it will not be Nicaraguan socialism, Russian
Yeah, see, he hasn't actually defined socialism.
socialism.
So what he's saying is he's looking for, he's saying that each country will have its own national socialism. And yes, in this case, considering some of the stuff he's been saying in the past couple of years in particular, that is an entirely fair call. That is an entirely fair thing to say, because a lot of his analysis, I mean, one of the things he's been actually channeling, Raffendes und Schaffendes Kapital, the idea that you have this sort of conflict. He's not talking about it here. I think he realizes that it's a little bit too mask off. Maybe he's trying to play his cards a little bit closer to his chest. But he constantly is on about how there's supposedly this opposition between productive capital and financial capital, and this is literally the sort of the economic stump speech that Hitler gave.
Chinese socialism, Vietnamese socialism. That in China they refer to their system as socialism with Chinese characteristics. And when socialism comes to America, it will be a socialism with American characteristics, rooted in the contradictions of U.S. society, rooted in the problems we are facing here, crafted to address the injustices and the hardships faced by America in the age of capitalist decay. And that socialism in America will be a continuation of the great tradition of progressive organizers.
I mean, again, bringing up the fucking suffragists, which is not great because they were explicitly white supremacists. One of their big things was to actually, they one of their big gotchas about the hypocrisy, of the U.S. system of denying women the vote was that. I mean, that it couldn't possibly make sense to have a system where a black man could vote but a white woman couldn't. That was like one of their standard talking points. So,
of anti-racists, of labor activists, of populists, of community organizers, of forces of resistance to empire and exploitation. And that our duty is not to try and get the American people to adopt a foreign ideology.
what the hell do you mean a foreign ideology?
Our duty is not to convince the people of America to hate themselves, but rather
See, again, here we're going with the Fash shit. Because only Fash actually claimed that, pointing out that that the fucking founding ideology of this country is genocidal white nationalism is convincing Americans to hate themselves. This is like George W. Bush bullshit.
rather to find the good within the American people, to find the John Brown and the Harriet Tubman and the Gus Hall and the Huey Newton blood that flows through the American people's
Well, maybe that it doesn't have so much to do with blood, though?
veins and unleash
A weird way of putting it.
not only to reveal itself, but
And here, okay, we've gone from showing the suffragists and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Harriet Tubman, and now the fucking fake truckers convoy, which was led by a literal open neo-Nazi.
To assert itself as the rightful leader.
Okay. Fucking hell. This is just so deep. Because on the one hand, I've actually seen him, we've seen it on stream, talking about how the US is absolutely a disaster when it comes to COVID, pointing out that actually China actually probably has a reasonable, overall attitude anyway, in terms of COVID, but actually praising them outright and talking about what a disaster. Then he's sitting here praising this fash convoy whose entire thing was they didn't want any precautions to be taken about fucking COVID. So which is it, Caleb?
Of a country that is in a deep economic, political, and
I'm how much of this footage, this is not a single thing, mind you, from like the George Floyd uprising. He skipped that over completely. Instead, we're, and nothing from all of the organizing and resisting against ICE or anything like that. But, like, literal fucking fash who were campaigning on behalf of the bosses and the boss's agenda of not taking any COVID precautions. This is so fucking masked off.
Crisis. This is what I believe. This is the ideology and the belief system that I put forward on these streams. This is what...
Yeah, he's still going with this stuff.
What I teach. This is what I espouse. This is what I...
Yeah, we're doing this again, are we? But he's going to say profess, I'm guessing?
Profess.
Oh, no, profess.
And it is the passion with which I espouse these beliefs that propels me to keep going throughout the endless onslaught we face as a society in decay.
See, he could have just decided to, after the whole thing about him using using the CPI as a fucked up sex cult and financially also exploiting the members and all that stuff, which he doesn't deny. I've been through that entire video. He does not deny it. His entire point is that they shouldn't have pointed it out. That somehow talking about it contradicts the end of, makes it impossible to have restorative justice about it or some shit. He could have just kind of creeped away, so to speak, and shut the fuck up, or he could have apologized and said he's gonna do better, and instead, he's just going through this. All he's done here is tweak the image because he realized that cartoon was bad. That cartoon was just absolutely ridiculous on so many levels. But once again, this is just not actually... The production values are better. But fundamentally, it's the same shit. Fundamentally, it is all about putting him at the center of the story. It's all about how supposedly revolution is all about him. And claiming the tradition of the Wobblies is deep, too.
As truth tellers in a world of lies, of those who advocate love in a world drowning in hate. This is what I believe. This is what I am dedicated to espousing.
This is what I am dedicated to espousing. You could have edited some of that stuff out, my dude. Okay. There we go. That is the, that is what Caleb Maupin believes. That is what Caleb Maupin espouses. That is what Caleb Maupin professes, folks. That's what he professes. Always be closing. Don't put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only, folks. And we've only got 10 minutes left, which is kind of an awkward amount of time. We could get started on something on the Vosh one that I was curious about. We're not going to get very far in it. Or let me see. Is there anything else? Is there a quickie we could do? No, we already did that. The boring asshole on. Should you care about Israel? Or okay, shame on. I need to clear this out. There's a bunch of stuff in here that I've already done. I mean, we already watched Vosh. That was actually kind of hilarious. Where he's like, why is Turkey in NATO? Why does Turkey shouldn't be in NATO? It's not. He's sounding like somebody who's going. Why is it that why does Al Capone employ all these goon motherfuckers? They're not nice. Why is he doing that? And it's like, well, because he fucking wants goon motherfuckers. What have we got? Have we got a short one in here someplace? Oh, we can look at a little bit of face-to-face with communism. That's what we'll do. See, communism, it turns out, is just like what happens when the band nerds take over. That's a crap flag. Oh, nuts, it's communism. It was my fucking day off, too.
Ever anybody wants to get me sleep, it's always the... How do you expect a guy to sleep with all that racket going on out there? You know, if you'd wised me up to this shindig, I'd have gone someplace else.
It's a fucking shindig.
Yeah. Well, if I was running a hotel, I'd have enough...
See, what we missed, what we saw already on here was, the paper just says communists take over.
You got the mail ready?
There it is.
Is this everything?
Everything.
Okay, you'll get it back when it's sent.
Did that mail belong to the folks who are staying here? That's right. But, well, since when have they started censoring mail in this
Since J. Edgar Hoover?
country?
Since the Palmer raids?
Now, just exactly what kind of a bird is it?
It's an African gray parrot. Thanks for asking.
Don't let it get you down, Sergeant. It got me up. And anyone who gets me up when I don't have to get up
Is an exasperated pause. What? He lost a customer, so he's blaming the hotel on the fact that there's a fucking marching band outside? It's not the hotel's band.
Number, please.
Oh, operator, would you give me long distance, please?
Long distance.
Long distance. I want to speak to Miss Maisie Goldberg at Calumet 54902. That's in Chicago.
Do you have a permit number?
See, because that's what communism is. Communism is when it's more difficult to make fucking long distance calls, apparently.
Huh? A what?
A permit number.
A permit number? What's this?
All long distance calls must be cleared with the Commissar of Communications and a permit number obtained.
Say, what kind of chicken? What's all this hogwash you're feeding me? The phone calls to my girl?
Make up your mind, sir. Is it chicken or is it hogwash?
Girlfriend,
All long distance calls must be cleared with the Commissar of Communications and a permit number obtained.
Permit number? Commissar of Communications? It just doesn't make sense. There's something wrong with this town. Seriously wrong.
I mean, they're playing, like, just traditional fucking, I think, John Philip Sousa marches, so this is clearly... This is Caleb Maupin's mob who've taken
That's a
over.
wrong guy, too.
Oh, he looks quite nice.
I've got to see what's going on out there.
Well, a fucking marching band, I'm guessing. What's he looking at his ass? Or why is he grinning like that?
The Communist Party of America will direct all organizations of the people, both social and state. The private operation of hotels, banks, stores, and services will be permitted only at the discretion of the Council of People's Commissars. Any such operation conducted without official sanction is a crime against the state.
I love how the idea here is that communists actually just sort of show up one day and that's how it works. I mean, I've been around communism for quite a long time, and I have to say that is giving us a lot of credit in terms of organization. We gotta work on that. I mean, and also the idea that this would just be an overnight thing, like, if you miss the newspaper one day, oh shit, it's communism? Like, that's not how that works.
Among you who will consider this as an encroachment on your individual liberty. Such people will have to be re-educated.
This must be some kind of a gag. With that phone call. That censored mail.
Hey, who is that zombie up there?
He's one of the commissars.
What's he trying to do?
He's telling us that we're not allowed to talk, we're only allowed to listen.
Inability to learn fast is sabotage. All right, comrades. Now I'm going to tell you what all this means in plain American. This town is now an active unit in the Communist International.
That's not how that works.
From now on, the world...
This is propaganda that the U.S. government came over to show military personnel in the 1950s. This is 1951.
The people's state comes first. Most of you misguided people have been living under a reactionary capitalist democracy for so long that you find it difficult to understand what we mean by the welfare of the people's state.
Like, then how did you end up in power in the first place? Surely there would have had to have been some kind of public support.
The people's state is you.
Not me, brother. Not me. You might be fooling some of those jokers with this people's state routine. But not me. Why doesn't somebody do something? Why don't they call the cops? Yeah, the cops.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, the cops in 1951, I mean, they were just such a model of democracy. So this is going to be really shocking when it turns out that I'm guessing they're not going to be here. I mean, he's quite right that, of course, normally the cops would be out there beating the shit out of somebody with a hammer and sickle flag. That's sort of an American police tradition. Cops are there for that and racism.
And come here, you won't get away with this, people won't stand for it. As soon as they realize the extent to which you've taken away their liberties, they'll have a farewell speech.
Not you too, Chief.
I guess so.
But why? Why you?
For performing my duties, I guess, as chief of police of this community, according to the best of my ability and according to the Constitution of the United States.
Now what'll I do?
And that's where we leave it tonight, because it is almost 9. It is exactly 1 o'clock. Thank you, Adam, and everyone else who popped by to watch. I will be back at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time tomorrow for a continuation of the roasting of reactionary propaganda and the playing of the Geoguessr. For everyone who enjoys the stream, please consider paying for the stream. You can do that by using the tip command to send me a direct contribution, becoming a patron on my Patreon, or by subscribing to my other channel, Hyperpolyglotting, over at Twitch. I very much appreciate it. It helps me continue to do all this. Have a good night, and I will see you soon, hopefully.